right, you're good.
So just brief overview of some of the recent changes that were made at Lava. I want to say probably been a month or two at this point, maybe even longer. I don't know where time has been flying by. We transitioned to a true ROI approach where once a user has broken even on their initial node investment, then their nodes get converted into revenue share only nodes. And as one of the things that we did there is we made it so that users can continue to, if users compound, once they've broken even, the nodes that they now own will produce PLAVA, which they can use to create additional revenue share only nodes so that they're increasing, so that you can increase your allocation in all investments that were made, including seed level investments, bots, as well as returns from farms. And where we are right now with that is the investment dashboard is now live, where users can actually view all of the previous 7 seed investments that we've made up until now. And I would say the next step for that dashboard is to allow the actual community contributions directly from there. So the way that that'll work, just to reiterate, is that every time we come across a particular seed investment, you have your guaranteed allocation based on the nodes that you own relative to the total supply of nodes, and then you also have the right as a node holder to make an additional investment on top to any project that you happen to be bullish on. So if you wanted to increase your allocation in, let's say Magpie, which is one of those specific investments, you'd be able to contribute on top directly. And you can do that just by the dashboard. And then the way that it works with claiming is as soon as vesting kicks in for any particular investment, and you can view that information from the dashboard, you would be able to claim it from the chain that it actually is vesting on. So with EVM compatible chains, that's pretty easy. So the way that it works is you have an allocation that's calculated by, as I mentioned, the number of nodes you have, as well as any excess or additional amount that you contributed to that project. And that information then gets communicated to the wallet, to the multi-sig wallet, or I should say to a contract that the tokens then vest to. And then you'd basically be interacting with that contract on the chain that those project tokens are vesting on in order to claim your share for that investment. You'd be able to claim regularly until you've gotten your full allocation amount. So, just as I mentioned before, the actual vesting terms vary on a project by project basis, but you can view all that information from the dashboard, so you know exactly when to claim and how much you'll be receiving, and you'll be able to see how much of your allocation you've gotten so far. So that's where we are with the investment dashboard. One of the main goals at Lava is to transition away fully from the native token model. So as part of phase 3, our goal is to move away from that model into a pure revenue share model where users' returns aren't coming from a native token, but are coming from the actual investments that we're making, as well as the cash flow from our sister projects. So our sister projects form a very big piece when it comes to actually getting to that point. But to get to that point, people who own nodes but have yet to reach their ROI need to get to that point. So there are certain things that we're exploring to help people who have yet to break even get to that point more quickly. And one of that might look like a node buyback, where we allow users to sell their nodes essentially to the protocol for the remainder of their ROI. And then what we'll also be doing, since we'll be obviously we'll be shuttering the Lava USDC LP as we transition to a pure revenue model is the idea that we had is to take the existing nodes that have been created and that are owned by all of our holders and transition them to an NFT or an NFT model or style system where one NFT is effectively equal to one Nova. So you can think of the NFT as being representative of your share. So if you had, let's say 10 of the, if you had 5 of the lowest tier nodes, which is equivalent to one Nova, then you'd be able to, in the migration, you'd be able to swap that to this NFT that then represented your revenue share position. But as part of that, we'll also be giving users an option for just to get their ROI as part of and you can almost view it as a buyback. But yeah, it is being recorded. But that's that's in the probably within I would say 2 months or more away. But the idea is to get us to a point where old users are taken care of, they've reached their ROI. We transition to a pure revenue share system where returns are coming from the sister projects as well as the seed level investments. There wouldn't be a native token, and then the way that it would work is there would be a node cap in place, right? And right now the node cap is going to be at 4,000. And we would essentially only consider periodically opening up periodically offering those revenue share NFTs for sale, and also letting people resell those NFTs if they wanted to exit their position and and essentially cash out whatever their revenue share was. So that that's the long-term goal, and there are definitely some there are definitely a lot more details that need to be worked out before we get to that point. But I just wanted to share that with you guys because, as you all know, the I would say one of the biggest goals we have right now is to really get to and complete phase 3. I would say right now we're at an intermediate point, especially with the investment dashboard and with the with the node cap as well as the true ROI system. But to really get to that point, that would require a migration and doing away with the native token altogether. Juice, is there anything else that you wanted to add to that? I know we discussed it today, so if you wanted to.
No, yeah, I think you covered it pretty well. Yeah, I mean the goal is to get to these. I know you've called them venture pass NFTs before. I feel like that's an appropriate word. So, I mean, our ultimate goal is to take care of those that have been compounding this whole time. So, one thought that we had was to make the compounded nodes, have like a higher weight or something of the sort. So, we're still deciding on the final model, but just know that that is being taken into account. And, we're not going to forget about those that have been believing in the project the whole time. So, that's all that I wanted to add to that. But yeah, you covered it pretty well.
And then right now, I guess I can jump into them first. So we've been making a lot of we've been making significant progress there. We're just wrapping up the development for our MVP, which is our minimum viable product, and we'll be having a demo where we showcase and go over all features of the app, do a walkthrough of the process of actually building, running, and discovering and sharing different strategies on the platform. And I think I've mentioned this before, but some of the cool things, some cool features that are included in Prism is this idea for this tech for generating strategies through text. So instead of having to go to the visual builder section and rearrange different blocks, what you can do is you can describe the series of actions that you want to take, with different protocols you describe what the outputs are and what the trigger conditions are. And as long as you can as long as you can accurately describe the series of actions that you're taking, what happens is Prism will automatically generate the actual workflow containing the blocks that correspond to your description. So you don't even have to know how to use the visual builder. As long as you can describe it, we'll generate a strategy that that approximates what you've written. And for something like this, because it uses machine learning, it gets more and more accurate over time as users use it and people provide feedback. Because one of the things you'll be able to do is once the strategy is generated, you'll be asked rate the accuracy. It'll probably be out of 10, and for when the strategy you generated is not accurate, what we'll do is we'll go and we'll have people actually go and look at the strategies and fill in the blocks or edit the blocks for what it should actually be, to train this model so that it gets more and more accurate over time. The other cool thing we have when it comes to discovery for Prism is a Chrome extension. And the way that works is anytime that you are on a particular dApps website, so you're visiting Curve, for example, what you can do is you can click on the Chrome extension and it shows you all available automations or strategies that utilize that particular protocol. So, if you're on Curve and you click on the extension, you'd see recent and popular strategies that happen to utilize Curve at some point in the blocks that make up that strategy. But that's really cool because it opens up a lot of it opens up a lot of potential for discoverability, because one of the things that we noticed is that it's really hard to get users to use just a single app every single day. But if you can bring the app with them as they're navigating the sites that they're already interacting with on a daily basis, then it becomes more similar to something like MetaMask, where you can just click on it once you're already connected to the website, and then you can see all strategies that are available for you to run, and you can run it directly from the extension. So that's pretty cool, and we're excited about that. We've been talking to a couple of, you can call them YouTubers or DeFi power users, who are knowledgeable when it comes to these complicated multi-leg strategies. What we're doing is we're having them actually create some of the initial strategies that we'll have, that the platform will have at launch. So you can think of them as seeding the platform, so that because a lot of it because a lot of the content on the platform is user generated, meaning it's created by third-party users. You'll have plenty of strategies to run at launch. And the other cool thing is we're also talking with projects. So if they have any if there are any common workflows that users have to take when they're when they're interacting with a particular project, whether it's a node project where you have to claim and compound on some regular intervals, or could be a futures trading product. It could be something like JMX. What we're doing is we're having the projects actually build the workflows that can automate those those steps that users are commonly taking. That when you visit their website, you'll be able to to see the actual, you'll be able to see the automations that are available and run them directly from there. And this way you don't have to manually, manage your position. And again, this really just touches the surface of the potential use cases here, because any manual series of actions that you would otherwise, that you have to take in DeFi on a daily basis can be converted or translated into these blocks and run automatically in response to certain trigger conditions. And those triggers can be time-based. So, on this date or every X number of days do this, or they can also be event-based. So if the volume of some, liquidity pool is greater than, X dollar amount, then run this. And it's, like I said, it's extremely customizable. So I imagine that, the use cases will be very broad. But the fact that, and that's really the reason why we, for the revenue model, what we've decided on is essentially a 50-50 split of all fees generated with creators. So if someone comes on the platform and publishes, a strategy, and let's say it has, I don't know, $1 million of volume, so we would apply a 1% fee towards the, towards the amount of money going towards that strategy, and in that case, that would be around $10,000. And we would then split it with the creator. So Prism would take 5,000, the creator would get 5,000, and this incentivizes people to come on and publish on the platform. But it also works almost as its own. Think of it as like a natural marketing tool or incentive. As I guess it almost has similar incentive to something like an affiliate link. But the idea is if you have you have a content creator like a crypto YouTuber who goes over these super complicated strategies, what he can do is he can translate the instructions in the video, so the series of steps that he's taking, into an automation so that users can run it one time and they don't have to try to replicate what he's doing manually. So he writes it once, he shares it, users click on the link, they can view an overview of the strategy so they know exactly what's going on, and then they can run it directly from there. And obviously they can also modify it, but that's I would imagine that that'll be the modification feature will probably be something used more by advanced users. But yeah, right now with development underway, the plan is to have a demo day to show some of the features of the platform and just give users or give I guess the Lava community a sense of how exactly it'll work, and we'll also be taking feedback or suggestions based on the demo. Where we are now is when it comes to funding for Prism, because the actual I guess timescales are a little longer, just because what we're doing is a lot more complex. We are not doing a typical community raise with a pre-sale that is offered to Discord or anything like that, but we're doing a VC raise. And this past week, we've been meeting with this organization that that essentially walks through the project with the founding team, and then creates the pitch deck. So the pitch deck for Prism will probably be wrapped up within the next, I want to say, week and a half, and then that'll be followed shortly by our demo day, and then we'll begin our raise. And yeah, that's really it. And then the other, I guess, component that I didn't really address when it comes to the actual tokenomics is we will have a token which is called Prism, right? That users can actually stake. It'll just be single-sided staking, and then they can earn a percentage of all fees generated from other people running strategies across the platform. And so we use that model because it's very similar to the real yield model that GMX uses, where stakers get fees based on trading volume. In this case, stakers of Prism would get fees based on all of the different workflows and strategies being run. That's where we are with Prism, and we'll share more information with you guys for the upcoming demo day. Juice, I know you sent me a DM for the actual pitch. I don't know if you wanted to send that in general.
Yeah, there's just so the pitch deck, I believe it's around 16 pages right now, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys. The work that's been done so far on this has been pretty incredible. So I just wanted to share a few snippets for those that are in chat. So pretty excited about how it's turning out. We'll just post these two.
Yeah, and then you can. We've also posted a preview of the UI on the Prism Twitter. So if you haven't seen that, you can go and check that out.
Yeah, I mean, like
And
the goal with Prism, just something that I wanted to add onto what you said, which was great so far. But I wanted to add because there are a few other platforms that are doing things somewhat similar to this, where you can create like an automation strategy, but there's kind of two areas where they fall flat, and I think that we really can excel. And one of those is that they aren't exactly intuitive, and they're not fun to use, and that's really the area that we're trying to capture with Prism is that like if you go to use an iOS app or something, it's like the good ones are fluid and they're fun and they kind of elicit this it's like a fun thing to use. And with a lot of these other ones, it's almost like a chore, like trying to figure out how to use this. And we want it to be as simple as I want to do this thing in DeFi. Let me go to Prism. Like, oh, I'm tired of doing this every day constantly. Let me just go and automate it quick. And boom, boom, boom. And then your strategy is ready to go. And then the second thing is that, well, I guess you kind of already covered it with being able to have the time-based triggers, because no one currently is doing that, where you're able to execute something over time intervals or based on certain events. It's all just, oh, let me just package a bunch of functions of a contract into one executable contract. So we're taking that to the next step.
Gelato has something similar, but it's only for you have to have access to the actual contract address, and you can call specific methods that are public at specific times, but you can't really chain them together in a no-code way. And I know they do have some contracts where you can combine different time-based actions, but there's currently no way to actually chain them together using this using the drag and drop UI model. So that's something that we're excited about. And then also the text generation of strategies is just something that really doesn't exist. So that should be very cool. And that's really where we're at with Prism. When we do the demo, obviously we'll be sure to make an announcement beforehand, and I imagine we'll post a recording for those who miss it. But moving on to and just to reiterate, the way that these sister projects tie in to Lava is that because these are projects that Lava has incubated, initiating development, and setting up the actual teams and communities and getting them off the ground, Lava will receive a 20% dividend based on the revenue generated by that platform. So 20% of the net fees generated on Prism will flow back to Lava's treasury, and which will ultimately go back to node holders as part of the revenue share model. And with something like Prism that ideally is going to be seeing significant volume on a daily basis, that means that cash flow is more consistent. So the revenue share model isn't something where you're looking at these seed investments are going and going, damn, that vesting begins in 3 months. What am I do? What can I do right now? So with Prism and with Divi, the idea is to provide immediate cash flow as part of the revenue share model. And the way that works is that 20% of the revenue generated will be flowing back to Lava. Moving on to Divi. Divi is the multi-chain futures trading platform that we're developing. And the way that works is in many senses. So a lot of I would say the core code is based on GMX, right? Where you have you have a liquidity accrual token that we call DAT. Users can supply any of various supported assets on the 4 chains that we're initially supporting, and they receive DAT, which represents the value of their liquidity position as it's going up. And the way that works is DAT essentially represents an index of all assets, of the value of all assets supplied on a particular chain. And I would say the major thing that sets Divi apart from existing perpetual futures platforms is that we are building in the ability for anyone to become a market maker. So if the core platform doesn't support particular assets, anyone can create a trading pool by supplying those assets to it, and then essentially defining a strategy, whether it's via options, derivatives, or through a custom index, using our visual what we're calling the Divi DX builder. So users will be able to define the strategy there, and then each market maker will be determining what the fees and incentives are for their particular trading pool. And when it comes to fees, it might for something like futures, you might be charged a nominal percentage, hourly for the amount of leverage that you're using. Let's say on a position. For something like options, it would usually just be a premium for the calls or the puts being sold. And when it comes to incentives, I would say the majority of the time, the way that it'll work is the market makers will be determining what percentage of the fees being generated will flow back to people who are supplying assets to the pool. So, in the case of something like, if there's someone who has an options pool on Polygon for some particular token, they might have a fee structure where they're charging a premium, and the premium is calculated based on volatility and and other factors. We're using the Black-Scholes equation, which is how most American style options are calculated, and any revenue or any fees that are collected by selling those options, so the premiums, would then a percentage of that would then go back to the people who are actually supplying liquidity to the pool. But to actually become a market maker, you have to supply the initial liquidity. So you can think of it almost as like a DEX, in that it's permissionless, but it extends the features that that they typically have. So instead of just providing liquidity, what you're doing is you're essentially providing you're essentially defining you're essentially building products on top of that liquidity that you're providing, and then any fees that are collected then get distributed accordingly back to the LP providers for those pools. And we're currently in discussions with 2 different DEXs, one on Avalanche and one on Binance Smart Chain, to actually to integrate with their contracts, so that people who are already farming or interacting with those DEXs can now trade futures, options, and other types of derivatives, using the existing liquidity of those platforms. So that's pretty cool, and it's something I'm excited about, and that should add additional utility to those existing DEXs, and also fill a need, or I would say a gap that that many advanced traders might be looking for. So that's where we are with Divi. The next steps for us are releasing the testnet, which I want to say will happen within probably between a week to a week and a half, we'll be releasing the testnet and then just collecting feedback and then making any necessary changes. And then I want to say within 2 to 2.5 weeks, we'll be doing our seed round with and all funds that we collect through that round will go towards the cost of our CerTIC audit and our KYC with Obsidian, as well as the marketing before the pre-sale. And then a month after the KYC and audit are both done, we'll probably have a 2 to 3 week marketing blitz, and then the pre-sale will take place afterwards. The way that the pre-sale works is users can buy div users can buy div at a rate of $2. They can stake it at launch, so they can immediately begin earning from all fees that are generated on the platform. And that's really the plan for now with Divi. And some of the more advanced features that won't be available at launch, but will be incorporated over time, include things like the trading bots, as well as copy trading, and also things that just increase quality of life for users and convenience, such as fiat onboarding. But yeah, I mean, starting at launch, what will initially be available is simple leverage futures for the native token for each chain that we're initially supporting, as well as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ethereum, and simple options. So call and put options against those primary assets, and then I want to say once we see where once we have a sense of how the volume is growing and what the volume is looking like, we'll be releasing the third-party market making or trading pool feature that I just described earlier. But at launch, it'll be simplified and it'll be very relatively straightforward for users to interact with. They'll be able to stake div, to supply liquidity for DAT, and to just trade futures as well as options. And yeah, I mean, and we're looking, we want to so part of the idea with Divi is we want to put a lot of control and creative ability in the power of our users, and that's why we're approaching this platform using this third-party market maker trading pool type of model. And that'll, so at the end of the day, that'll leave a lot of the products that are ultimately offered up to the users of the platform. And I think that that'll end up being very cool. As I think I mentioned before, when we launch, we'll be supporting 4 chains initially. That'll be Arbitrum, Avalanche, ESC, and Polygon. We may end up supporting additional chains at some point in the future, but starting off, we decided to stick with those because they have the largest TVLs and also have relatively high volumes. Just let me know if there's anything that you wanted to add, and if there's anything that I overlooked, anything that you thought would that you think people may find interesting, or that you'd want them to know about Divi.
No, dude, you covered everything.
Yeah, and for those who are listening, if you haven't read the light paper that was pushed out, I would say go check that out. Go take a look through our site. Get involved in the Discord and Twitter. It's very active there. And yeah, just stay up to date with the announcements on the Discord for Divi as well as the Twitter. And if you're interested in participating, you'll know when you're able to. Juice, is there anything you wanted to cover on the update end? Did you want to talk about, I guess, some of these seed investments that we're looking at currently without, I guess, sharing any names?
I mean, there's really the one from Stacker, but I think you might be probably at this point. I think you've gone through it more than I have, so that would be the biggest
Yeah,
one
so we're
that I would
sure.
say to bring up.
Sure. So we're looking at this new layer 2 that uses ZK rollups to achieve hyperscalability and also privacy. And it uses an interesting architecture that, in theory, is able to accommodate applications that aren't just limited to dApps. I'm waiting for more information to release about it, but it seems very promising, and it's backed by big names in the space like Wabi, the exchange, as well as Big Brain Capital. And on their GitHub, actually, they've received feedback from Vitalik Buterin, as well as this guy named John Adler, who's one of the inventors of optimistic rollups. And also, he's received feedback from the founder of RSK, which is another ZK, which is another protocol that uses ZK rollups. So I'm excited about that. It does seem pretty technically challenging. And it's definitely an ambitious project. But yeah, I mean, when we end up making our investment, we'll be able to share more on that, and users will be able to dig into it. But it seems extremely promising, and I'll leave it at there. The other investment that we are still just waiting for confirmation on is an allocation in another layer 1 that uses multi-platform computing. It's similar to Partisia in the model that it uses, but right now we're just waiting to hear back from the project because they've yet to open up collection for that, or for their raise. And that's really it right now. I know you get pretty quiet on Discord, especially in these rough bear market conditions, and also it's still being relatively warm outside, but we're hoping that at the end of the day, the majority of interactions will be on the actual product, as opposed to just a communication platform like Discord. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to build cool and useful products that people are actually interested in and end up using. JC42 asks, is Fusion still going to happen? Yes, except it will not happen in the way that was originally planned. I don't know if you were on when we mentioned the NFTs as we move to a pure revenue share model, but rather than fusing several lower tier nodes into a nova or multiple novas, what's going to happen is we'll be essentially moving away from the node model and into an NFT model where each NFT represents your portion of the actual revenue share. And again, we still have to finalize the details on this, but the way that it'll most likely work is, if you have one nova, it might be, and that one nova is grants you a certain percentage of all of the returns from investments as part of the revenue share. That whatever that proportion is would get translated over into an NFT, and so if you wanted to fuse lower tier nodes, you'd be able to do that. It would just have to be in the right ratios. So if you're fusing the lowest tier nodes together. If you were to fuse the lowest tier nodes to create, a higher one, you'd be able to essentially, you'd be able to, I guess, take 5 of those lower tier nodes and convert them into one of these revenue share NFTs. But the way that it'll work is it'll be translated using the same ratios that we currently have for each tier, except once we're in this NFT model, it's only going to be a single tier, and that tier will be equal in weight to what ANOVA is currently. But so I guess to quickly reiterate, answering your question, yes, it is going to happen, but it's going to be through the NFTs. If there are any more questions, feel free to post them in general. Anyone is also welcome to hop on the stage, and I'll happy to answer your questions over voice as well.
Yeah, I feel like this system of fusion, quote unquote fusion, I guess, is definitely the best way to go about it, because with the end goal being to arrive at this point where we just have revenue share NFTs, it doesn't make a lot of sense to invest a lot of time and resources into finalizing that fusion system to just build out a node that essentially is going to change in the future anyway. So yeah, definitely makes the most sense to just kind of roll that into the migration or transition, if you will, to the venture pass or to the rev share NFT system. So kind of kill two birds with one stone with that.
Yep. So I think that just about answers JC's question. If there's any other questions, feel free to post them in general. Otherwise, if nobody has anything to post, or if nobody wants to come on the stage, I think we'll start wrapping it up.
Sounds good. I mean, the only thing I would say is, is obviously we continue to reach out to new projects, and one thing I've been trying to focus on today, is a little bit of Discord activity versus reaching out to other projects, and the activity was pretty positive today versus other days. And for those of you listening, I know a lot of people can't be here today, but the more participation that we put into there, which we have the community to do so, it does nothing but make the project look, extremely well. And we have a lot of great people in the community. So, if we can all devote a little bit of time, including myself, and have that Discord booming, and also focus on gaming days as a team, and, as a family, I think that would be beneficial to the sustainability of the project in the long run, and also attract new, business propositions and relationships.
Definitely. Well said, Chris. So I think if there's since there's no other questions, we'll about wrap it up here. We'll be posting a recording of this, so anyone who wasn't able to tune in will be able to go and listen in a couple hours, and any of you guys will be able to also reference the recording if you want to go back and listen to anything that we went over, whether it's Lava, Prism, or Divi. Thank you for everyone who was able to make it to today's AMA. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and I hope to see you at the next one and the next game night. All right. Take care, everyone.